All right, so, there's so much going on out there, and I have been really pounding the fact that I think all of the polls are undercounting a huge statistic, a huge input to all these polls is black males, okay? And I broke down how 50 Cent looked at Joe Biden's tax plan. He came out and said, screw Joe Biden, you got to vote for Trump. And you had Ice Cube, someone who would typically be more to the left, talking about how he reached out to both campaigns. And the Biden campaign said, yeah, we'll get back to you after the election. And the Trump campaign said, hey, that sounds good, let's talk about it. And then they actually adopted some of his ideas from the New Deal with Black America. And he said, hey, I'm not picking a side. I want to talk to anybody who will talk to me. And it seems more and more evident to me that young, sane, hardworking African-American men realize the actions and the results of Donald Trump, and they're breaking away from this broad brush that Joe Biden said, if you're voting for Donald Trump, you ain't black. And someone who's doing a heck of a lot to lead that movement joins us right now. Autry Pruitt is with us. He's the CEO of the New Journey PAC. And Autry, you think black males could very well be the difference in re-electing Donald Trump?
They definitely could be the difference. In fact, they were the difference also in 2016. If you look at black male exit polling in Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you'll find in those three critical states and even in Ohio, because black males turned out for Donald Trump, and in Florida, black females as well, because they turned out and voted for President Trump, he was able to narrowly win those states, thereby winning a majority of the Electoral College. I think it's no different now. Black males could make the difference in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Michigan.
Wow, well, Michigan would be a big one. There is Never Trumper movement going on there in Arizona, but I guess they're not taking into account. They're just probably taking for granted, all those black males are going to vote for us like they always do. And they're not factoring in the fact that Donald Trump's policies actually help minorities so much that these people realize, all right, this guy got something done, and this other guy's been there for 47 years, and we're still stuck in mud. So it seems like, now let me ask you this. By all accounts, Trump got somewhere between 8 and 10% of the African-American vote last time, which was good. It was an increase over anyone before him, a Republican, especially Mitt Romney. There are accounts out there that Donald Trump can get anywhere from 16 to 20% this time, which would be monumental and put him over the top. What percent of the total black vote do you think Donald Trump will get in this election?
This election right now, if I had to peg it, I would say 12.5%.
So
if I had to take it on average, I think in Michigan it will be a little higher. Florida will be a little higher. I believe Ohio will be lower. I believe, now remember, when we're looking at those voter averages, they're counting places like New York, right, where New York was low. So when I say he's going to get 12%, I'm looking at the critical places where he's going to get that. Where is he going to get that 12% vote?
Right.
I think Michigan will be a little bit higher, mostly because their governor is crazy. I think Pennsylvania, though, will be lower because Pennsylvania has had an establishment push to keep that state locked down. So I think there might be some issues. There might be some issues there. Florida should be higher, largely because of the school choice. And I actually believe black women may show up for Trump. By the way, we say 8 to 10% last time. I really think it was already 10 to 15%. So I think the polling will show 12%. But in reality, it might be 15 to 20% because black Americans traditionally, only about half answer exit polls.
Right. And even if they're coming out with a group of their friends, and they know some of their friends, they, voted for Biden, they're not going to talk to the pollster. Even if they do talk to the pollster, they're not going to say, oh, no, I voted for Trump, because they don't want to get the grief in their neighborhood. So they just go along with the crowd and hope they don't get asked the question. Now, tell me about the New Journey PAC, because I know there are a lot of movements going on where, African-American folks of all religions, all geographic areas are basically willing to shake off the Trump stigma and finally come out and say, hey, I am for this guy and his policies. So what are you guys doing to defend the president of the United States?
Well, New Jersey PAC is simply moving black voters from blue to red column. That's what we are about, both in the short term and long term. For President Trump, we've done drop voicemails. We're doing traditional PAC advertising. We're doing some door knocking for President Trump. We've done mailings for President Trump. Digital. Last time I checked, we spent about $275,000 to $300,000 either on pro-Trump or anti-Biden advertisements. But what we do that's very different is we do highly targeted messaging towards certain niche segments within the black community that need to understand exactly what Joe Biden is about. So, for example, it was crazy to us, but we found out a little over 45% of black Americans never even heard that Joe Biden, or they didn't believe Joe Biden said, "You ain't black." So we developed an entire array of messaging around that specific segment he said, right?
Yep.
So then a lot of African Americans also never heard that Joe Biden wanted to get rid of school choice. He doesn't want you to have a choice. If you're in a broke, busted, and disgusted school, he wants your kids to remain there. So we decided to bring that to the surface and put these clips out there, right?
So yeah, I don't think it's not something that the fake news reports, because the fake news don't report real news, so they're not going to spread that word to the masses. So I can understand people who missed it say, "Come on, they're just twisting it."
Yeah, not only that, but we're messaging on Hunter Biden. Now, our messaging with Hunter Biden doesn't have to do necessarily with Hunter Biden taking all this money from China, because let's be frank, black Americans are more worried about their own families than taking money from China. But we do message with Hunter Biden is look at all the opportunities he has. Look at the lawsuits he avoids. Look at the criminal avoidance his daddy's status gets him. Why don't your kids get that status? So it is possible to take some of the messaging that has resonated, for example, out of BLM with certain people in the black community and turn that onto Joe and say, well, listen, if you're saying, and if you're aligning yourself with BLM, then why are you aligning yourself with Joe Biden? Because he certainly is not for black lives, and he has proven it.
No doubt about it.
The one opportunity Trump missed on stage is when they win the whole racist talk, Trump should have stood back and said, listen, there's only one racist on this stage that said he was a racist, and that's Joe Biden.
No doubt about it. Let me ask you this. When I see like a lot of these like BLM protests here in New York and other places, there are a lot of white kids. And, it strikes me as, okay, good. They're thinking with an open mind. If they get violent, then I think it's terrible, right? I'm watching these videos of Philadelphia last night, these kids looting, and from what I'm seeing on the screen, the majority of them are African American, right? So what's going on in, your standard blue-collar African-American family when your son comes home with a new washing machine on a dolly and says, hey, I just stole this from Walmart?
Well, I think the question has so many implications. First of all, number one, you assume there is a family there. In a lot of places, unfortunately, statistically, we know the breakdown that's been facilitated by Democrats of the black American family. So that's part of the problem, is these men are not coming home to families with a mom. Let's face it, you're a man, there reaches an age as a man where you need to interact and be guided by another man. I'm not saying a woman can't do it. I had a single mom. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying overall for your community, it's better if you're guided by a man. Now, I had men in my life that were a part of my family, even though my father was not there, right? I had my Uncle John, I had Bishop Carruthers in the church, for example. So I had individuals that provided that guidance that a man needs. So part of the problem you have is that you have 17-year-old men, right, that are coming home to women. So they're not used, they don't know what it is to be a man. Second problem you have is where are the jobs, right? They need jobs. If people have jobs, they have work to do, they have to get up and go. And you saw this with some of the protests going on in Texas. right? We air these commercials where some black men were going out telling the Antifa protesters, the white liberal protesters, they were telling them, hey, get your butt out of my way. I got to go to work.
Right. Yeah.
So you need to have jobs, and jobs need to be pushed. That's why the left attacks jobs. That's why liberals don't want you to have a job.
Right.
If you have a job, all of a sudden your priority changes.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, Autry, thank you so much for joining us. This is a great message, a great organization. I encourage my audience to go check out and learn more about New Journey PAC. And keep up the good work, brother. Let's hope for a big MAGA victory. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Autry Pruitt, CEO of New Journey PAC. We'll take a quick break, wrap up all the news of the day we got left for you, along with the WTF, right after this.